Hello, I am Monif Hafar with Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise leading strategic initiatives. Joined here today with Darren Giacomini from BCD Video, and we're here to talk about some of the efforts that we have been going through over the past year in getting to the point to where we are today, and that is, with video surveillance ecosystem, where our switching solution provides the glue for the connectivity of the various pieces with video surveillance. But what I wanted to do is make sure I have Darren Giacomini talk about the solution and be able to demonstrate later on in the video how the solution actually works. Darren?
Thank you. So the BCD Video System is an automated deployment of both Layer 2 and Layer 3 high availability infrastructures to ensure that your video is always available, always on, and always recording 24/7. The best part about it is you don't have to have a lot of network background. When you take a look at executives for most of these integration companies, one of their biggest pains is the fact that they simply don't have a large volume of network infrastructure or network engineers to actually deploy these types of environments. So what you wind up with is restricted resources and limitation on the number of projects you can actually take on. By simplifying this and making this obtainable by any of their technicians, we allow those executives to scale their resources and not only deploy more efficiently, but make sure they get it right the first time. When you deploy a network right the first time, you ensure that you are not repeatedly rolling trucks to site trying to fix infrastructure-related issues that erode margins and cause you to lose profitability. So the application is actually broken down into a series of two different types of deployments. Layer 2 simple flat networks, and Layer 3 high availability networks that are intended to scale much larger and actually segment that traffic for both containment points and higher performance. So what we've done in this solution is we built DHCP into the actual switch core itself. For the Layer 2 solution, up to 200 cameras can actually be dynamically host configured or have the IP address pushed out to them automatically, alleviating the need for the technician to have to go in and manually do that process. In addition, we've put LPS, or port security, into it. The port security ensures that once the IP cameras, workstations, servers, and management are put in place, no other devices can connect to that actual network switch. And it's all done automated through a phone application. The key to the success of all of this is making sure it's obtainable by anybody, meaning that any integrator or any entity can train their team to actually deploy networks successfully in under an hour. In addition, we have the capability to automate the recovery. Let's say I'm in a critical infrastructure and I have a switch number 20, that goes offline. In a Layer 3 environment, switch 20 or template 20 would correspond to VLAN 20 with a 192.168.20.1 IP interface. If that switch were to go offline, I could simply grab another switch, mount it underneath in the infrastructure, power that on, grab my phone, push out the configuration template, and in a matter of minutes, without having to call anybody from IT or call my integrator, if they're unavailable at that point, that site can be back up and running simply by putting a new switch in, pushing out the configuration template, and moving the cameras. There are times where integrators simply are unavailable. And in those particular instances, we allow for the site to actually bring their surveillance system back online with minimal interaction.
The complexity is insane, but we've taken all that away so that we could do exactly what Darren is addressing here, simplicity.
So we're going to go through a couple of demonstrations. We're going to demonstrate the Layer 2 deployment. We're going to demonstrate the Layer 3 deployment with about an hour's worth of training. We're going to take a look at what it takes to effectively use the BCD Video Assistant to deploy a simple but effective Layer 2 deployment or Layer 2 application. In this particular instance, the Layer 2 application is going to deploy everything into the 5 VLAN, which each of the switches having an IP address of 192.168.5.1 through 5.10. So we select in this case which switch you want to represent our aggregation point or our core. In this particular instance, I'm going to choose the 6350 P48, connect in, and launch my application. In the upper right hand corner, I choose the connection. Once connected, I verify the serial number, the model, and the version of the code matches my intended target. After I verify I've selected the appropriate switch from the drop-down dialog box, I select switch 1. Switch 1 has the core configuration as well as the DHCP server that will service the network. it's imperative that you only push out switch 1 configuration to one switch in your network, and then you note which switch that you use, so you know where your DHCP services are going to execute from. So in this case, I select Apply for switch 1. Once I've applied the switch configuration in the upper right-hand corner, I select the options to verify the configuration. I verify the configuration is taken to the template as shown, and then I simply move to the next switch. Plugging into the next console port and executing the connection, I take a look once again at the serial number, MAC address, and release version of code, identify the switch I'm connected to as the intended target. Once I identify the target, I now switch and I select from the drop-down dialog box, switch 2. Once I selected switch 2, I click Apply. Once the configuration has been applied to switch 2 in the upper right-hand corner, from the drop-down dialog box, I once again verify the configuration before proceeding to the final switch in this configuration. Connecting to the console port, I execute the connection, verify the serial number, MAC address, and model of the switch matches the intended target. I now select switch template 3 or switch configuration 3, and I click Apply to push that configuration. Once the configuration has been completed in the upper right-hand corner, I verify the configuration as we did previously, and now you've walked through what it takes to do a simple 3-switch configuration using the BCD video assistant for the Layer 2 application. Right, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough here of what it takes to actually deploy the Layer 3 application using the BCD video assistant. In this particular example, we're going to have a core switch, we're going to have a viewing room switch, and we're going to have 2 edge or camera switches that we're going to deploy. Prior to the first step, interconnect the 2 cores and power them on, allowing them to form a virtual chassis. Once the switches have formed a virtual chassis, you will see the indicated blue lights. Simply take your supplied dongle, plug it into the console port, and launch the BCD Video Assistant. From the BCD Video Assistant, you simply click the Connect to make the connection up in the upper right-hand corner. It will supply the serial number, the MAC address, and the model of the switch that you're working with, as long as the release version of the software. Once you've identified the switch and you've made the connection, as we're connected to the core, underneath Select Device Configuration, hit the Select and select the core switch option. Once I select the core switch option, I select Apply. At this point, you're seeing the configuration go through and apply. When the configuration is completed, in the upper left-hand corner, select the option to view the configuration. You can actually take a look at the configuration to ensure that it actually applied. After we've deployed our core, we're simply going to remove the supplied dongle. In this case, we're going to connect into the viewing switch, which is going to formulate the 101 subnet or 192.168.101.1 interface. Connect to the switch, select the connection option, and allow the BCD Video Assistant to determine the switch, model number, MAC address, and the release of the current version operating system is running on. Once you've made the connection, from the drop-down menu, select Viewing Switch 1, which will apply the 101 template for the VLAN, and click Apply. The template's now being applied to the viewing room switch and being optimized for video. Once again, in the left-hand corner, you can check your configuration from the options after it's been applied to make sure it takes. Moving up to the first edge switch. Make my connection to the edge switch and select Connect. The switch is identified by its MAC address, serial number, and the release version, as well as the model. From the drop-down dialog box, select Camera Switch 1 and Apply. Supplies the camera template, VLAN 1, or the 192.168.1.1 interface to it. And as the previous switches, we can use in our options to select and view and make sure the configuration actually took. Moving up to the final edge switch. We make the connection, identify the serial number, identify the model number, and the release version. From the Select Configuration option, select Camera Switch 2, which will apply VLAN 2 with an interface of 192.168.2.1, and select Apply. At that point, we've completed our configuration, and we're going to move to the implementation on the VMS side and verify its operation.